Have you ever wondered what if the thing you've been blaming yourself for all these years isn't actually your fault but a battle happening inside your own mind? That question hurts because deep down, you've already judged yourself. You've called yourself lazy. You've promised to change. You've watched days disappear while your dreams stayed exactly where they were. And with every unfinished goal, every missed opportunity, every promise you broke to yourself, the voice inside your head became louder. Maybe you're just not disciplined enough. Maybe you're weak. Maybe everyone else has something you don't. Those thoughts don't just steal your confidence. They slowly steal your identity. You stop saying I failed. You start saying I am a failure. And that's where the damage becomes dangerous. Because once you believe something long enough, you stop fighting it. You accept it. You build your life around it. You lower your expectations. You settle for less. Not because you want to, because you become exhausted. Exhausted from trying. Exhausted from starting over. Exhausted from carrying the weight of disappointment. And nobody sees that part. Nobody sees the silent guilt, the frustration, the nights when you tell yourself that tomorrow will be different, only to wake up and repeat the same cycle again. It's painful, not because you don't care, but because you care so much. You want more. You want to change. You want to become the person you know you could be. Yet something always pulls you back. Something invisible. Something stronger than simple laziness. And that's the truth nobody told you. Your brain doesn't care about your dreams. It doesn't care about your ambitions. It doesn't care about the life you imagine for yourself. Its first job is survival. Its first priority is comfort, safety, certainty, the familiar. Your brain would rather keep you trapped in a painful routine than risk the uncertainty that comes with change. Because to your brain, familiar pain feels safer than unfamiliar growth. That's why you procrastinate even when you know better. That's why you avoid important things and then hate yourself afterward. That's why you wait for motivation and wonder why it never stays. You thought you were fighting laziness, but you've been fighting something much deeper. Ancient programming, patterns built to protect you, patterns that once kept humans alive. But in the modern world, those same patterns can quietly destroy potential. And the worst part, most people never realize it. They spend their entire lives believing they're broken, believing they lack discipline, believing success belongs to other people. Meanwhile, guilt becomes heavier, dreams become smaller, and hope slowly fades. But there is something you need to hear, something that could change the way you see yourself forever. You are not strange, you are not hopeless, and you are not fighting this battle alone. Millions of people wake up every day feeling frustrated with themselves. They wonder why simple things feel so hard. They wonder why they keep repeating the same mistakes. They wonder why they can imagine a better future but struggle to take the first step toward it. And every day, they blame themselves, not knowing the enemy they're fighting, not understanding why their mind keeps pulling them toward distractions, toward comfort, toward anything that offers quick relief. Because your brain loves immediate rewards. It loves easy pleasure. It loves certainty. And in a world filled with endless distractions, that ancient system is constantly being hijacked. Every notification, every scroll, every delay, they feel harmless. But they train your mind to chase comfort instead of growth. Until one day you look in the mirror and wonder where all the time went. Wonder what happened to the dreams that once made your heart race. Wonder whether it's already too late. And maybe you've asked yourself that question. Maybe you've wondered if you've wasted too much time. Maybe you've secretly feared that everyone else is moving forward while you're standing still. But what if that fear is lying to you? What if the story you've been telling yourself has never been true? What if the problem was never that you were lazy? What if you've been at war with a brain that was simply doing what it was designed to do? Because if that's true, then something incredible becomes possible. And for the first time in a very long time, maybe you don't need more shame. Maybe you need understanding. Because understanding changes everything. Because understanding changes everything. The moment you stop attacking yourself, something strange happens. You finally begin to see the real enemy. And the real enemy was never a lack of intelligence, never a lack of potential, never a lack of dreams. It was the invisible system running beneath the surface. The one that whispers, do it later. The one that says, you'll feel more motivated tomorrow. The one that convinces you that waiting is harmless. But waiting has a price. And most people don't realize they're paying it until years have already disappeared. Because the brain is clever. It doesn't destroy your future all at once. It steals it quietly. One delay at a time. One distraction at a time. One excuse at a time. Nothing feels dangerous in the moment. That's what makes it dangerous. You tell yourself it's just one day. Then one day becomes 1 week. 1 week becomes 1 month. And eventually, you wake up surrounded by unfinished dreams and unanswered questions. Not because you didn't care, but because your brain kept choosing comfort over change. And comfort is seductive. Comfort asks for nothing. Growth demands everything. Comfort feels safe. Growth feels uncertain. Comfort gives relief. Growth gives meaning. And your mind will almost always choose relief if you don't consciously train it to choose something greater. That's why motivation alone fails, and emotions change. Some mornings you feel unstoppable. Other mornings you feel nothing. If your future depends on feelings, then your future will always be unstable. That's why so many people live trapped in cycles. Excitement, action, burnout, guilt, repeat, over and over again, not realizing they've been trying to win an internal war with temporary emotions. But the people who change their lives discover something powerful, something most people spend decades missing. They stop trusting motivation, and they start trusting movement, because action creates feelings, not the other way around. Waiting to feel ready is one of the greatest traps ever created, because readiness is an illusion. Confidence is built afterward. Clarity comes afterward. Strength comes afterward. Nobody becomes fearless and then acts. They act while afraid. They move while uncertain. They start before they feel prepared. And something incredible begins to happen. The brain starts paying attention, because your brain learns from evidence, not wishes, not promises. Evidence. Every small action sends a message. Every completed task becomes proof. Every promise you keep becomes a vote for the person you're becoming. And slowly, almost invisibly, your identity begins to shift. Because identity isn't created by thoughts. It's created by repeated actions. You don't become disciplined by saying you are. You become disciplined by showing up when you don't want to. You don't become confident by hoping. You become confident by surviving moments that once terrified you. You don't become stronger by dreaming about change. You become stronger by carrying the weight of change every single day. And that's where most people quit. Not because they are weak, because they expect transformation to feel exciting. But real transformation is often quiet, boring, repetitive, uncomfortable. Nobody celebrates the days when you fight yourself and still choose to continue. Nobody applauds the moments when you resist distractions. Nobody sees the battle inside your mind. But those invisible moments are where your future is decided, not in grand speeches, not in perfect plans, in ordinary choices. The choice to begin, the choice to continue, the choice to stand back up when your brain begs you to stay down. Because your brain will resist. It will search for shortcuts. It will crave comfort. It will beg for immediate pleasure. And if you don't understand this, you'll mistake resistance for failure. You'll think something is wrong with you, when in reality, resistance is proof that you're leaving the familiar behind. And that's exactly why this matters so much. Because there are two versions of you fighting for control. One version wants comfort, the other wants purpose. One wants safety, the other wants growth. One wants easy, the other wants meaning. And every day, without realizing it, you cast your vote, not with words, with actions. Because the person you become isn't decided by what you desire. It's decided by what you repeatedly choose. And that truth is far more powerful than you have ever been led to believe. And that truth is far more powerful than you have ever been led to believe. Because the greatest battle of your life is not happening outside of you, it's happening within you. And most people lose that battle before they even realize they're fighting one. They surrender to habits they never chose. They surrender to routines that slowly drain their spirit. They surrender to distractions that promise happiness and deliver emptiness. Then they wonder why life feels heavier every year, why excitement disappears, why hope fades, why they feel disconnected from the person they once wanted to become. The answer is painful, because potential means nothing without direction, and dreams mean nothing without action. You can have beautiful plans, incredible ideas, endless ambition, but if your days are controlled by impulses, your future will be controlled by regret. And regret is a heavy thing, not because of failure, because of possibility. Because deep inside, you know you're capable of more. You know there is something inside you that hasn't been fully expressed, something waiting, something powerful. And that feeling never leaves. Years may pass, circumstances may change, but the voice inside remains. The quiet voice that whispers that you were meant for more than surviving, more than existing, more than repeating the same week until life runs out. And perhaps that's why you're here. Not by accident, not because you're broken, but because a part of you is tired. Tired of excuses, tired of self-doubt, tired of carrying dreams that never become reality. And maybe you've spent years searching for a magical answer, a secret formula, the perfect moment. But life doesn't change because you discover some hidden secret. Life changes when you stop negotiating with the part of yourself that keeps asking for comfort. Because comfort has a voice. It says rest when you need effort. It says later when you need now. It says tomorrow when today is all you truly have. And tomorrow is dangerous, because tomorrow has stolen more dreams than failure ever could. People fear mistakes, but mistakes are not the enemy. Delay is, because mistakes teach, delay only consumes. Every hour you spend waiting for perfect conditions is an hour that never returns. Time does not pause. Life does not wait. And one day, whether you're ready or not, you'll be forced to look back. You'll see the choices, the habits, the patterns, and you'll face one question. Did you spend your life listening to fear? Or did you spend your life answering the call inside you? Because that call is real. You feel it when you watch others succeed. You feel it when you lie awake at night. You feel it when you imagine the person you could become. That feeling isn't jealousy. It isn't foolishness. It's possibility. It's the painful awareness that your current life and your potential life are not the same. And the distance between those two lives is built by daily decisions. Nothing more, nothing less. Not talent, not luck, not perfection. Decisions. Tiny decisions repeated until they become destiny, which means your future is not hiding somewhere far away. It's being created right now, in this moment, in the choices nobody sees, in the moments when nobody is watching, in the moments when your brain screams for comfort, and you quietly choose purpose, because purpose is not a feeling. Purpose is a commitment to become someone your future self will thank you for. And that commitment matters more than you realize, because people are watching. Maybe not with their eyes, but with their expectations. Your younger self is watching. The person you once dreamed of becoming is watching. The family that believes in you is watching. The opportunities you haven't met yet are waiting. The life you keep imagining is waiting. Not for perfection, not for genius, not for some future version of you. It's waiting for the person you are right now. The imperfect person, the tired person, the person who doubts themselves. Because you do not need to become someone else to begin. You only need the courage to stop abandoning yourself. And the moment you stop abandoning yourself, everything begins to change. Not all at once, but enough to change the direction of your entire life. Because the brain that once held you back can also become the mind that sets you free. Because the brain that once held you back can also become the mind that sets you free. That is the part nobody talks about. People speak about changing your life as if it requires becoming someone extraordinary. As if transformation belongs only to the gifted. As if discipline is something a lucky few are born with. But that's another lie. Because your brain is always changing, always adapting, always learning. Whether you realize it or not, the question is not whether your mind is changing. The question is what it is changing into. Because every habit is training. Every distraction is training. Every excuse is training. Every promise you keep is training. Your brain is listening all the time. It watches what you repeat. And then it says something terrifying. This must be who we are. That's how identities are built. Not in a single moment. Not in one dramatic decision. But through repetition. Slowly. Quietly. Powerfully. That's why people become trapped. Not because they lack ability. Because they practice the wrong identity for years. They practice quitting. They practice waiting. They practice doubting themselves. Until doubt feels normal. Until fear feels normal. Until living beneath their potential becomes familiar. And familiar things are hard to question. But something incredible happens when you begin to practice a different story. Not a perfect story. A truthful one. The story that says you are capable of growth. The story that says you can start again. The story that says your past does not own your future. Because it doesn't. Your mistakes do not own you. Your failures do not define you. Your lost years do not erase your value. And no amount of regret can change yesterday. But one decision can change tomorrow. One choice. One action. One moment of courage. That is all change has ever asked from anyone. Not perfection. Movement. Because movement breaks paralysis. Movement creates momentum. And momentum changes lives. At first the results seem invisible. Nothing magical happens. No applause, no sudden transformation. Just small victories. Tiny moments. The kind most people ignore. But those moments matter. Because greatness is hidden inside ordinary days. Inside ordinary choices. Inside the decision to continue when quitting feels easier. And eventually something shifts. Not outside. Inside. You begin to trust yourself again. And that changes everything. Because self-trust is priceless. Without it, goals feel impossible. Dreams feel foolish. Hope feels dangerous. But with it, even impossible things begin to feel reachable. Because you no longer need constant motivation. You no longer need perfect circumstances. You no longer need to feel ready. You simply need to remember who you're becoming. And who you're becoming matters. Because life moves faster than you think. The weeks become months. The months become years. And one day this chapter of your life will become a memory. The pain you're feeling right now will become a memory. The struggles will become memories. The excuses, the fears, the doubts, all memories. But the person you become through this battle will remain. That person stays. That person walks with you into every opportunity, every relationship, every dream, every challenge. And one day, you'll meet people who are standing exactly where you once stood. People drowning in self-doubt. People convinced they're lazy. People convinced they have missed their chance. And without even realizing it, your life will become proof. Proof that change is possible. Proof that a mind can be rewired. Proof that hopelessness is not permanent. But that future version of you is depending on something. Not luck, not talent, not miracles. A decision. The decision to stop waiting for a different mind and start working with the one you already have. Because the truth is simple. You don't need a new brain. You need new evidence. Evidence created by action. Evidence created by consistency. Evidence created by refusing to surrender to the voice that tells you to stay small. That voice has spoken long enough. That voice has stolen enough time. Enough peace. Enough dreams. It does not deserve the rest of your life. Because there is another voice inside you. Quieter. Stronger. The voice that refuses to die. The voice that still believes. The voice that brought you here. And maybe, after everything you've been through, after all the disappointment, after all the guilt and frustration, that voice deserves to be heard again. Because that voice is not your weakness. It is the beginning of the person you are always capable of becoming. Because that voice is not your weakness. It is the beginning of the person you are always capable of becoming. And the truth is, that person has been waiting for you. Not somewhere in the future. Not after you finally fix everything. Not after you become perfect. Right here, right now, hidden beneath the guilt, hidden beneath the excuses, hidden beneath years of believing the wrong story. Because you were never meant to spend your life at war with yourself. You were never meant to wake up every morning carrying shame like it was part of your identity. You were never meant to hate the person staring back at you in the mirror. And yet so many people do. They punish themselves. They insult themselves. They speak to themselves in ways they would never speak to another human being. Then they wonder why they feel exhausted, why they feel stuck, why they feel empty. Because shame may create pressure, but it never creates peace. And a mind without peace cannot build a meaningful life. You don't need more hatred. You don't need more guilt. You don't need another voice telling you that you are not enough. Life has already given you enough battles. You don't need to become one of them. Because the world does not benefit from a smaller version of you. It does not benefit from your fear. It does not benefit from your silence. It does not benefit from your endless self-doubt. There are dreams attached to your courage. There are opportunities attached to your growth. There are people you haven't met yet, whose lives will be touched by the person you decide to become. And maybe you cannot see that right now. Maybe all you see are your failures. Maybe all you see are the years you wasted. Maybe all you see are unfinished goals and broken promises. But that is not the full picture. Because human beings are terrible at measuring their own potential. You have survived things you once thought would destroy you. You have endured pain you thought would never end. You have kept going even when nobody knew how hard it was. And somehow, despite everything, you're still here, still searching, still hoping, still refusing to completely give up. That matters more than you realize. Because the people who change their lives are not always the most talented. They're the ones who decide that enough is enough. The ones who stop waiting for certainty. The ones who stop asking for guarantees. The ones who understand that fear does not disappear before action. Fear follows action. Doubt follows action. Resistance follows action. But growth follows action too. And growth changes everything. Because every single day, whether you notice it or not, you are becoming someone. The question has never been whether change is happening. The question is whether you're choosing it, whether you're consciously building the life you want, or unconsciously repeating the life you already have. Because time is moving, even now. This day will never come back. This moment will never return. And one day, years from now, you will remember this season of your life. Not because it was easy, but because it was the moment you stopped believing the lie. The lie that you were lazy. The lie that you were broken. The lie that you were destined to stay the same. Because none of that was true. You were learning, struggling, adapting, fighting battles nobody else could see. And now you know something that changes everything. Your brain may resist growth, but it can learn growth. It may crave comfort, but it can learn discipline. It may fear change, but it can adapt. That is what makes you powerful. Not perfection, not endless motivation, adaptation. Because the same mind that created your worst habits can create better ones. The same person who doubted themselves can trust themselves again. And the same life that feels stuck today can look completely different tomorrow. Not because of luck, not because someone came to save you, but because one day you finally stopped asking whether you felt ready, and you decided that your future was too important to keep handing over to fear. Because deep down you already know something. You have wasted enough time. You have listened to doubt long enough. And the life you keep imagining is not asking you to be perfect. It is asking you to begin. Because the life you keep imagining is not asking you to be perfect. It is asking you to begin. Not someday. Not when everything makes sense. Not when fear disappears. Now. Because life does not reward the people who wait forever. It rewards the people who move despite uncertainty. And maybe that is the lesson this entire battle has been trying to teach you. Not how to avoid discomfort, but how to stop running from it. Because discomfort is not the enemy. It never was. Discomfort is where growth lives. Discomfort is where confidence is built. Discomfort is where ordinary people become extraordinary versions of themselves. And every meaningful thing you want sits on the other side of that door. Not because life is cruel, but because transformation requires leaving behind the person you no longer want to be. That is why this feels difficult. Not because you are weak, because you are changing. And change asks for courage. It asks for patience. It asks for faith. Faith when results are invisible. Faith when progress feels slow. Faith when nobody understands the battle inside your mind. Because there will be days when you question yourself again. Days when old habits return. Days when your brain begs you to quit. And in those moments, remember something most people forget. Falling back is not the same as staying back. Having bad days is not failure. Feeling doubt is not failure. Moving slowly is not failure. The only real failure is surrendering to the belief that you cannot change. Because that belief becomes a prison. And prisons are built one thought at a time. One excuse at a time. One story at a time. But freedom is built the same way. One decision at a time. One action at a time. One promise kept at a time. Until one day, you wake up and realize something remarkable. You are no longer trying to become that person. You are that person. Not because you reached perfection. Because you refused to quit. Because you kept showing up. Because you kept choosing growth over comfort. And that is enough. More than enough. Because the truth is, you were never behind. You were never ruined. You were never disqualified. You were simply human. Learning, failing, adapting, becoming. Just like everyone else. The difference is that now you know. You know that motivation comes and goes. You know that fear lies. You know that your brain is not your enemy. It is a tool. And tools can be trained. You know that discipline is not punishment. It is self-respect. You know that confidence is not something people are born with. It is something they earn, one difficult choice at a time. And perhaps the most powerful realization of all is this. You do not need to prove your worth. You already have worth. The work ahead is not about becoming valuable. It is about becoming honest. Honest about what you want. Honest about who you are. Honest about who you refuse to remain. Because your future is watching. Not with judgment, with hope. The person you will become years from now is hoping you stop doubting yourself. Hoping you stop shrinking. Hoping you stop giving fear the authority to decide your life. Because fear has taken enough. It has stolen enough opportunities, enough memories, enough peace, enough dreams. It does not deserve another decade. And maybe years from now, you will look back on this season with gratitude. Not because it was easy, but because this was the moment everything changed. The moment you stopped calling yourself lazy. The moment you stopped treating yourself like the enemy. The moment you understood that your brain was never trying to destroy you. It was simply following patterns. Patterns that could be changed. Patterns that could be rewired. Patterns that no longer have the power to define your future. And when the world tries to convince you that change is impossible, remember this. The human mind is built to adapt, which means hope is never foolish. Starting over is never embarrassing. And becoming the person you dream about is never too late. Because your story was never meant to end with regret. It was meant to begin with a decision. And that decision has always belonged to you.